I had a chance to sit down with some accomplished quarterback coaches, Kyle Hockman, Paul Seeley. We sat down together for a QB roundtable to discuss the quarterback position and developing today's quarterback. Now, both of these individuals, well, between the two of them and myself, extensive experience in the quarterback world. Both Paul and I played at the Division I level. We played the quarterback position. Both Kyle and Paul have sons that are Division I quarterbacks. And Kyle's coaching career extends 33 years. His last 9 consecutive quarterbacks have gone on to play at the college level, including his own son, Bailey. So extensive amount of information here. If you're looking to learn about what's involved in developing yourself or your son or your player, if you're a coach, as a quarterback, then this is something you definitely want to check out. We had a chance to discuss our philosophies on developing quarterbacks. We talked about the characteristics that are required to be a great quarterback, dove deep into coaching the quarterback from an early developmental age all the way up through the college level. We talk a lot about parenting today's quarterback. It's not too often you get to sit down with 3 people, all whose children have played Division I athletics. So great opportunity to glean some wisdom from that perspective if you're a parent. We also outline some tools and strategies that can help you in your journey moving forward. So I think you'll really enjoy this. Sit back and enjoy, take some notes, and join us. Okay. All right. Hey, Facebook Live. First time doing this. I'm Coach Eric Smith with the Winning Edge Quarterback Academy. I'm flanked here with my good buddies and coaches, Coach Kyle Hockman and Paul Seeley. Let me give these guys a proper introduction. Kyle and Paul and I were all teammates when we played together at Bowling Green State University. Kyle went into coaching right after graduation. He's coached for about 33 years now. Is that about right?
Yep.
Yep. Started at the Division I college level. He's done it all. He's coached Division I level. He's been an offensive coordinator at the Division II level. Got tired of the nomadic lifestyle and went into high school coaching. He's the son of a Hall of Fame high school coach from the state of Ohio, Ken Hockman. And apologize for some of the background noise here. We're out on Kyle's, what do you call this, a lanai?
Front porch.
A porch here in Tybee Island, Savannah area of Georgia. Beautiful evening, but there is some ambient traffic noise around us, so you may hear that from time to time. But yeah, Kyle is the son of a Hall of Fame coach from the state of Ohio, and he's been coaching ball his whole adult life now. So we're thrilled to have him. Kyle is... I consider him kind of a guru with the quarterbacks. One of the things that's amazing statistic or fact about Kyle is that his last 9 consecutive quarterbacks have all gone on to play at the college level. So he's really good at developing the quarterback. I've learned a lot from him myself, and he's got a real kind of a systematic approach to developing quarterbacks that we're going to learn about from him tonight. So if you're a coach out there, if you're a parent, or just a quarterback, I think you're going to learn a lot. Now, the next gentleman here is Paul Seeley. Paul was also with us at Bowling Green, although he was a freshman when Kyle and I were juniors and seniors. Paul was also a quarterback, high school and college. And Paul's son is a Division I quarterback. He's in his first year. He's a freshman at Wofford University in South Carolina. And Paulie, his name is Paulie, his son's name is Paulie, played for Kyle. So wanted to have Paul join us as well from the perspective of, now Paul's been an offensive coordinator at the high school level as well. He's coached some high school ball. And Paul's also raised 2 other Division I athletes. Both his daughters played college basketball. So all 3 of Paul's children have gone on to play at the college level. I failed to mention that one of the 9 quarterbacks that Kyle groomed was his own son, Bailey Hockman, who played at Florida State and NC State and Middle Tennessee. You know, his career is over now, but he had a successful college experience. Myself, I run the Winning Edge Quarterback Academy. You can go to winningedgeskills.com to learn more about me. My background with the position is I played it in high school, I played it at college at Bowling Green, and now I run the academy, and I've done that since 2015. I've also raised athletes. My son was a good high school athlete. My daughter went on to play Division I volleyball at the college level at UC Davis. So all of us have kids that have played at the college level. All of us have played college football ourselves, and all of us have coached high school football. So we feel like we're in a pretty good position to offer advice and help, and that's our goal for tonight. So I'm going to probably act as more of a moderator in this format and let these guys talking and ask them some questions, and obviously I'll chime in and add some perspectives as well. And if you join us and you're watching, there's a poll question we have up, or feel free to type in comments and any questions you might have that we could address for you. So first of all, I thought we would just start and talk about the state of the QB position. Football is a constantly changing, dynamic sport. The quarterback position, based on from when I played it, I hardly recognize it anymore. It's changed that much. But a lot of things have stayed the same, but boy, sure, the game sure has changed a lot, and the way we approach it and the way we approach the quarterback position. So maybe Kyle, let me have you start with that. Talk to us about your perspective on the state of the quarterback position, maybe from the time you played to when you began coaching to now.
Well, studying it for a long time, and also going back prior to my birth, even back reading up on Joe Namath and some other guys here in the last couple years, doing different research or reading out of enjoyment and studying the history. It has definitely evolved. I think obviously when we were growing up, it was more about the leadership and the thrower, a guy who can get in the huddle and take charge. Where now the leadership is way different, because most people aren't in the huddle. Most people are in shotgun against signals, a lot of systems. The quarterback doesn't even have to say anything, never even call a play in some systems. So the dynamic of the player in that regard has changed. Then also the physicality has changed, I think, because of there's more of the athlete, which there was a time when the triple option was huge, and it was more of the athlete quarterback, not the thrower. So it's kind of evolved back to where that style is more in vogue now. And then you also have the advent of the RPO, where some of the shorter quarterbacks are able to see things because offensive linemen are run blocking, and you're passing from that position, so you don't have to be that big 6'5" guy standing in the pocket looking over everybody in pass pro. So I think there's a lot more that has changed, but just to get it started and what we're talking about, I think that's those components right there are kind of where I see it going. Obviously, the leadership is a huge aspect of it, but again, I think it's a different aspect, and without the huddle has changed quite a bit.
The physical makeup of the quarterbacks. So you've probably coached them all shapes and sizes and different skill sets. Is it still wide open? Can any quarterback, any as long as they have some athleticism, play this position?
Any physically? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've had a 5'7", 135-pound kid who could really throw it. I mean, he had a cannon now, but he was a tiny person. And I've right now our quarterback is going to be of a thicker kind of a, not offensive lineman, but if he was in a different era or something where he's a big physical guy, 6'1", he's not the tallest, but he's a big, thick, physical person. And then we've had javelin thrower that's just had a rocket athlete that didn't really know. We just train them. Had obviously the pure drop back quarterbacks, but most of the time it's some form of athleticism that fits you the best. Someone who can either run with it or extend the play at least and find receivers. So I think the athlete, or a big, powerful, maybe Tim Tebow style, physical Cam Newton, where they're downhill runners. Kind of there's that component is. I think you can win with, as long as coaching wise we have some creativity and some flexibility within our system to utilize whatever we have, and obviously at our level, and I think it's any level, because you go from A.J. McCarron to Bryce Young at Alabama, they do what they got, you know.
And I'm sorry I failed to mention, Kyle's at New Hampstead High School now in Savannah, where he's rebuilding a program there. He just they have a beach home here on Tybee Island, and he was at a big 7A school in Georgia, McEachern High School in the Atlanta area, where he was a 2-time Cobb County Coach of the Year there. Big program, type of program that played on ESPN every year, and he decided to, as life started to slow down a little bit, move to their beach home, and so now he's at New Hampstead High School, and you've been doing a great job turning that program around, Kyle. It's been fun to watch. Of course, it didn't hurt to have Paulie's son playing for you. Tell me, one of the comments you used to make to me, which I thought was cool, was you talked about how Paulie has advanced your program so much by being there. Explain to the people watching how he was able to do that.
Well, in year 2 of the program, which was COVID, right after the COVID lockdown, season of 20. Paul and Paulie moved down from Michigan because kind of wanted to make sure they were going to get to play, and I'm sure he'll talk about that in a little while.
Yep.
But to have a quarterback of Paulie's learning, I mean, Paul had already trained him unbelievable, and he had already had a year's varsity. Started as a freshman at Alma High School up in Central Michigan. Started as a freshman there,
yep.
and
smaller school,
and also a 4.0 student. Mom and dad, very professional people, had raised him right, and then out in the community, just able to connect with people, connect with teammates, and then as a senior, he won the Finnicaro Award, which is the top. Not top quarterback, the top player in the Savannah area.
Yes.
He won that award, and it just magnified our program. We went 3 straight playoff appearances for the first time in school history, and so he just, there's several. I could go on for hours and hours talking about Paulie and what a classy person he was, what a leader he was, and he probably didn't get the credit for his athleticism. Heck, he had 2 surgeries between his junior and senior seasons, and missed basketball because of he's a starting point guard for state-ranked basketball team, and just a great athlete. He didn't probably get the credit, and that's going to show up at Wofford as he's healthy, and they'll realize how good an athlete he is. It'll take him a few minutes.
But the thing about Paulie, and I'm going to let Dad here talk a little bit. He's such a great example of a kid who just loved being a quarterback. I mean, his room at home is regaled in quarterback life size art and murals, and studied the game on his own. Didn't have to be pushed to learn. He just loved, a great athlete, but just loved everything about being a quarterback. But he really brought a leadership component that when he showed up here in Savannah to play for Kyle, I think he was able to really build those connections with teammates, different socioeconomic backgrounds than what he was used to in Michigan. Did a great job adapting to that and connecting and just leading, just being around the facility, setting a great example. Just seemed to be real first class in everything that he did. Of course, that's a huge credit to you and Tracy, Paul. But talk to us about Paulie's journey as a quarterback and your involvement. I mean, and please talk about the difference raising girl athletes who went on to play in college and raising a quarterback. I mean, what's maybe the compare and contrast a little bit there?
Well, back to talking about the difference in quarterbacks. I think with all the changes and I think you hit the nail on the head. He has such a passion, and I think you have to have a passion if you are not a Cam Newton or you're not a Trevor Lawrence and you're just not big and fast and strong and everything. You have to have that passion to want to learn, which goes to show, like Coach said, a lot of different types of guys can be successful. Every college coach still wants 6'4", 210-pound high school kids, and sure, we'd all love those if they're great quarterbacks, but there's a difference of being a great athlete and being a great quarterback, and a few of them are both, but not as many as you would think. So I think it's that passion and just, wanting to learn. And obviously we came here because Kyle had so much to teach and so much to, I was more of a physical trainer, with him as far as just throwing and footwork and, and I'm not a, I'm not a teacher, so I was a coach, but in the business world as well. So didn't have anywhere near the knowledge of Kyle. But Paulie embraced that.
But one of the things I thought was cool, even though you played the quarterback position, and obviously you taught Paulie, you didn't play catch with him, you taught him how to throw, taught him some of the basic footwork. You still went out and hired quarterback coach.
Absolutely. We went to all kinds of different ones, whether it was camps or, local guys that, former college, players. Young guys get sick of hearing everything from dad. They want to just, whether dad knows what they're talking about or not, they run out of.
Ryan Van Dyke up in Michigan.
Ryan Van Dyke. We've gone through, NFA with J.C. Boyce and Dub Maddox, Daniel Fever. There's just been guys, and I enjoyed going to them and picking up drills or hearing it. Everyone, we're all kind of saying the same thing to a certain degree. Everybody says a little different, and sometimes it clicks in different kids' heads, hearing it a different way.
Of course, when we got together, I got a chance to do a little bit of work with them as well.
And obviously, you've been a big part over all these years when we can get together. But it's just, there's just, with the girls in contrast, the girls were having a lot of success in high school, and parents would ask, oh my God, how did they, get so good? Or what did you do? And I'd say, I did this. I just rebounded. It's just, there's no, unless you're that freak athlete where you can roll out of bed and be amazing.
But the girls want
just
us to
time.
do it too.
It's time, and you just there's no shortcut if you're a normal average athlete, or a little above athlete. It's just time and time and time and time and time.
So my experience was my son was a good high school athlete, but he didn't really love it. He didn't have a deep love for it, where my daughter did. When I would come home from work, my daughter would be in the driveway, working on her footwork or shooting extra hoops or something. She just loved it. And I know hearing you telling me stories about you'd open up the gym for the girls.
Yeah.
And just create opportunities for them to work on.
And as far as a parent note, and my wife gets all the credit, when our oldest daughter started, whether it was 4th or 5th grade or whatever, started having a passion for basketball and loving it, it got me excited. And so I'd be, I'd come home and you want to shoot baskets, you want to do this, this, and this. And it didn't take long for my wife to say, listen, you get to ask her one time. You're not going to ruin this for her. You're going to ask her one time. She can say yes. She can say no. She can ignore you. And it was a great lesson.
Yeah.
And then wasn't shortly after that where I never asked any of the kids to do anything. They came to you and said, let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym. Paulie and I, or all of us, we would get up and go before school and it was never, I'll wake you up and we'll go. It's like, I'll be up, and if I'll be downstairs, and if you want to go to the gym, whether it be to throw or shoot or lift, and you come downstairs and you're ready to go, then we'll go. But I'm not waking you up. I'm not.
It's their journey, and you let them be the captain of their journey.
And they need encouragement once in a while, and they need, are we going to do this? And well, don't you think, and so it's not like. You're not pushing them a little bit, but they need to. They're young and they need encouragement and they need a little push here and there. But it's too. I've watched too much, especially in girls AAU basketball. Kids get started so early, and the teams. Everyone's on this team, and then it gets to a little better team, and a little better team, and a little better team, and as girls fall off, I've seen so many girls that would have been really nice high school basketball players and enjoy their time end up quitting because they decided, well, I can't be great, I'm not going to be top, so I don't want to be it at all. And so it's a fine line. You don't want to burn them out, and you don't want them to end up not loving it,
right?
And have the experience. But
that's an interesting word you use, loving it, because that's such a critical component of success in sports. If you don't love it, you're not going to put the time required in. In my opinion, you're not going to put the time that's required in to be great. And number two, if you don't love it, you're not going to deal with the adversities and challenges and setbacks that are inevitable in the journey.
Yeah, and I think a big, all us old guys talk about, kids nowadays, but I think one of the newer issues, and maybe it's always been there, is that kids are really afraid to fail.
Yep.
And don't want to put it out there. And when we made a big move to Georgia to come and play down here, for lots of reasons, but mostly play for Kyle, play in a bigger environment with more athletes, it really came down to Paulie just putting it out there and trying to be great. And whether he ended up being, whether he ended up being as great as you want to be, so be it. But just being willing to, maybe it not work out. Now, so far it's worked out. He got a scholarship. He had a great experiences. But, we talked about, if we come down here and crash and burn and you're not good enough to play, and, we move back home, so be it. You know what I mean? You can still hold your head high because you weren't afraid to try.
Sure, I love that.
And I think that's important, and because we've all seen it coaching where kids just don't want to quite put everything in sometimes because they don't want to fail, and as adults we know life's full of failures, or obstacles, however you want to say it.
No
all
question.
the time.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, failure is part of the experience. It's going to happen. It's just flat going to happen in your journey, and we need to be teaching kids, skills like reflection and what they can learn from failure and what kind of questions to ask during failure, and really building that resiliency into them. One of my friends, Drew Keel, the QB doc, says kids need to be exposed to trauma with a small T. I love that. Kids need to be exposed to trauma with a small T. That's just how they're going to become their best. Kyle, I need to ask you about how in the heck you have so much success with these quarterbacks. What are you doing to get these kids 9 in a row out of the high school level into the college ranks? It's unbelievable success that you're having. And by the way, his next 2, starting with his incoming rising junior, should be 10 in a row if all goes well. I've seen the kid. And then he's got a 7th grader coming up that's going to make it 11 in a row, I have no doubt. So this thing's rolling. So obviously, I mentioned it, 7th grader. What are you doing with those?
First of all, I'll go back all the way to my dad as the best coach that I've ever been around college. I haven't been around many pro coaches, but college, high school, all the Division I, Division II, whatever, all of it, just unbelievable. Where he would, everywhere he went, when he started throwing the ball when I was a 8th grader, he said, okay, we're changing from the wishbone to start throwing it. He made that decision, and then all of a sudden he started having good quarterbacks. And then we moved my senior year to another school and had a pretty good quarterback. And then my brother was a really good quarterback, played at Kentucky. And then he had like 3 more good quarterbacks. And so part of it is, and people sitting in the stands, I remember coming home and watching a game, and they're like, man, he's just so lucky he keeps having these good quarterbacks. What a lucky run, And I'm like, you have no idea. But it's
harder work, the luckier you got, huh?
Yeah. It's in reality, it's 2 things. It's that you make the decision that you're going to have quarterbacks.
Right.
I'm going to have a quarterback. I'm not just going to have a guy who hands the ball off or calls the plays and runs the system. I'm going to have a quarterback and what all that entails. And number 2, then having a system to develop them, to let them be who they are. Let them fail. Give them opportunity. Don't hang so much pressure on them, and they miss a pass, you're screaming and yelling. Because that was my dad going back 3 yards in a cloud of dust, wishbone, everything was yelling and screaming, hitting harder, all that stuff. And then as he changed, and basically he'll credit Bobby Bowden with the idea of you got to be relaxed, you got to have fun, you got to you can't be a good thrower and a good catcher of the ball all tense. And so that idea. And then again, going back to the systematic approach of that, and I when I develop my middle school programs, I'm telling them, hey, I don't care what you do. We're running our system, but the 2 things you have to do in practice are throw and catch, and tackle. You got to hit, and you got to teach kids to learn how to hit. It's not natural. We do it safely with a lot of the head out of the tackle, the rugby style tackling stuff, and then you have to throw and catch. I don't care if you call a single pass play in the 7th grade game. Don't care. But in practice, you're throwing and catching. You can't just start. Okay, we're going to throw the ball this year.
Right.
And then next year, we're going to run the ball every play next year.
Yep.
And then go about 3 years later, we're going to throw the ball again because we finally got a quarterback that can throw. We have to develop and have a systematic approach, and obviously not just in the 7th grade practice, but working with the 7th grade quarterback or the 6th. And we have quarterback school in the off season, and we're giving them opportunities to learn, and we're throwing in the gym in December before school, and the middle schoolers coming over.
So
whatever.
you're going down into the 7th grade, the middle school level, identifying who the quarterbacks are, and then you're working as a head varsity coach. You're bringing them into meetings, your quarterback room, and teaching them ball. Now, Kyle brings his quarterbacks, middle school, up with his high school guys, and gets up on the chalkboard in the off season and systematically teaches them the game of football, teaches them the X's and O's, with a heavy emphasis on understanding the defense and how to identify different defensive coverages and understand defensive line responsibilities, linebacker plays, alley players, seam players, how to identify a box, how to attack different types of coverages. This is all stuff he starts teaching at the 7th grade level. Now, one of the cool things is through my association with Kyle, I've been able to document that. And we have that in my app, in my quarterback development app. And you can go to winningedgeskills.com, and I'll tell you how to take advantage of a discount before we end here. 13 hours of Coach Hockman in his QB room teaching quarterbacks the game of football. That's part of what comes in the app. And understanding the game, I hear it all the time from parents. Oh, he's got a great arm. He can really throw it. And it's like, that's a great starting point. It's a great starting point. Being able to throw a football is a great starting point. In fact, it's a requirement. But it's almost like that gets you up to the plate, right? It might get you to first base. It might get you to the plate. I'm not even sure it gets you to first place because there's so much more to it. There's understanding the game. There's the mental components, to be able to process quick decisions, leadership, all right? Being mentally tough and gritty and being able to handle all the pressure because everybody's watching you.
That's a big one.
Yep. So it's really... I've been so impressed by seeing what you do from a standpoint of teaching the kids the mental aspects of the game from such a young age. Yeah.
And when we're doing board work, we're doing video work, we're obviously in a gym doing footwork. We're on a little strip of grass 10 yards wide, and it's muddy way over here, so we can't go over there. We're just going to throw to that spot. We're going to find a way. It's not like we're out on the perfect turf field and have 17 receivers and 4 quarterbacks, and we got all. And now we want to have that and get to that in our practice settings, but in the winter, that's definitely not happening.
Right.
And we're going to find a way to figure out if it's 2 quarterbacks or if it's 4 quarterbacks. I had my college quarterbacks coming back in to talk to them and give them their ideas, and it's a open forum almost. Have some invite their dads. Hey, you want to come listen and watch? Come on, and then also it's really helpful to me as the person who's making the decision who's the quarterback, is that I get to see, is this kid a learner?
Right. Yeah.
Because if they're not a learner, it's going to be really hard. Unless they're Cam Newton physically.
That's a great point.
Cam Newton's a learner. I'm not saying he wasn't. But if they're so physically gifted, they might be able to overcome it. But the learning aspect of the game, I can see. We have a younger guy right now that's aspiring to be in that mix of quarterbacks. I don't see the learning part yet.
Yeah.
Now he's young enough that he can change that, and we've already had those discussions. Had discussions with his middle school teachers actually, and his father and his mother, and and that we need to start working on this if he wants to be. Yeah, he can throw a ball, and you'd be surprised how many kids, if you took a ball in a in a normal high school,
Yep.
I bet you can find 15 kids that can throw a football pretty good, or good enough to be a varsity quarterback.
Right.
But only one or two of them want to do it, want to put in the time and love it,
Right.
and then only a really small percentage want to learn and are learners.
Does Bentley want to go in?
Yeah, my dog's here wanting to get in there. Our wives are in there engrossed in the March Madness, so and see the dogs. But no, I think there's so many things in the learning and the passion, wanting to do it. And the other part of the system is also how we practice. Once they get into the high school, again in middle school, I want them to throw and catch. I don't care if you call it a play. In high school, our whole practice from not just from 2:30 to 5 or whatever the day, are from spring practice through the end of playoffs is set up for successive quarterbacks.
Okay.
We're gonna make sure our quarterbacks get what they need. If everybody else gets what they need, that's great. But if they don't, that's okay too. Quarterbacks are going to get what they need. And what do quarterbacks need? Once they have the basic fundamentals, they need decision making. They need variables. They need change. If your defense, if our defense, my defense, runs the same coverage every snap, and my quarterback has to go against that all practice, all spring, and then all summer, and they only get to see one coverage, then we're not going to be very good quarterbacks.
Yep.
So I force our defensive coaches.
Yep.
You have to change coverages, pre-snap, post-snap. You got to roll coverages. So my quarterbacks can get that work.
Yep.
And so we set it up from A to Z that the quarterbacks get enough of what they need to get.
I love the story of how you'll sit with your quarterbacks and you'll say, all right, turn around. So here's an example. If you're watching this video right now, okay, look away from your screen. Now, in your mind's eye, tell me, how many chairs are in your field of view when you were watching this video? How many TVs were in your field of view? And so what Kyle does is he's teaching his quarterbacks how to chunk information, how to see information, because that's what quarterbacks need to do. They need to see the big picture and process, understand the shape of the defense, see space within the defense. So he's that intentional with their training, with these kind of visual exercises that he'll do with them.
Yeah, we call it our CIA training, our
CIA,
our
yep.
spy training.
Spy training,
where we're
yep.
trying to get
Yep.
them to think and be aware
Yep.
of so many things, take in all kind of information. Be able to take snapshots. We practiced it the other day. Okay, everybody, we got on the board. We were sitting in the classroom with in the video the diagram of a past concept. All right, everybody, close your eyes, click it, see it in your brain, put it in that video file. All right, now you got a video file of that. You should be able to pull that picture up anytime, and then we'll practice it. Okay, and then you got to go write it down on the board. After you have from memory, from the picture, trying to figure out. Or again, we'll do stuff where we're where I'll make them look at that shelf. Okay, turn around. Okay, boom. How many footballs are on that shelf, or whatever. All kinds of different stuff. To get to see. The other part I really like, I think, the peripheral vision. Look straight ahead, and then you're trying to find out how wide is his vision. Can he see how many fingers I'm holding up over here? Can he see that over here? And you're trying to get him to see that, or find out so he knows what his, okay, I can be looking this way, but I can see what Paul's doing. But now if I look here, I can't see Paul. So
Right.
I got to know how hard I can look, those kind of things. So you're always doing things in the peripheral, and not just straight ahead or where your eyes are looking.
And Kyle gave me an idea about that years ago. And Paulie and I probably do this to this day, not as much, but driving down the road, because
Right.
when you're, we're on the road all the time as he's growing up, going to throw, going to camps, going to see coaches, and you just got a lot of windshield time, and you say, you see that sign over there, and then as you get by, say, what color was that house over on the right that we just passed? And he starts to train, and I don't know, and then it was a blue house, and so you just get them to to just to be aware, and it's a fun thing, and it kills some time, but it really conditions, and I've read articles that peripheral is trainable. It's a I don't know much about anything, but the articles say it's trainable with your eyes or muscles or whatever, and you can train things to get better.
Sure.
And so it's something that's easy to do in a few minutes here or there, or just being aware and being willing to try. And it's just something different,
What was the video I sent you where you would follow the finger with your eyes without moving your head, okay, and then you would move your head and keep your eyes on a fixed point.
Yeah, that was like a Florida quarterback or something, some drill.
They do that with the I think it was Florida.
Yeah, I think it was.
Where they were doing that with their quarterbacks to train their eyes.
Yeah, this was some kind of therapist or eye doctor or something.
It was just on ESPN or something here in the last month or two.
Really? Yeah.
So the thread that we're hearing here, if you want to be a successful quarterback, you want to coach successful quarterbacks, you want to be the parent of a successful quarterback, you got to be very intentional in your approach, okay? Identify at an early age. Identify the fact that they have the characteristics involved, that they're learning-based, that they're capable of being leaders, have some character, so they're able to lead other people. Obviously good athletes, willing to work hard, they want to love the game, have a passion for it, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of training. So this process needs to be very intentional. Get outside coaches involved, specialists, quarterback coaches. And then, of course, if you can get your kid with a coach like Coach Hockman, like Paul did, who knows how to develop the quarterback, put them in a position to succeed. This is like no different than, my wife keeps a compost pile at home, and every time I go to throw away my food, she up, she makes me put it in this special pail, and she goes out and she puts it in the compost pile, and then we'll go out there and stir the compost pile, and what is she doing? Well, she likes to garden, right? And so she uses that composting after it sits for a couple years, and she puts that in our garden beds, and we have great produce at the end of the summer. And it's no different with your quarterback. And the analogy I give is you want to put your quarterback in fertile soil. You want to put them in an environment where they can grow, maximize their growth, and that involves getting them with competent quarterback coaches. Of course, if you're in North Carolina, that area, I would love to help. I've got some tools online that can help you. And if you're in the Savannah or Georgia area, connect with Coach Hockman. But find out who they are. There's a lot of good ones out there that have trained, either trained, and but there's a lot of situations. There's a lot of situations that kids I work with, good quarterbacks I work with, sometimes are not in the best environment with their current program. You really got to be intentional about that process. Anything else, guys, you want to add to that?
I think you if you think your son or you as a player, you have that interest at a younger age, in middle schoolish age, early high school. I think if you really show what your abilities are and your passion and your love, and that'll come through, and then you have a relationship with your local coach where you go to school, and you kind of start the process if they're not a throwing team or if he's a defensive guy, and you kind of there's avenues out there, such as yourself or whoever. There's places to, hey, let's, I can throw it, man. Let's go, start that relationship and start to build it. And so obviously moving around and transferring is kind of a popular thing these days, but a lot of people aren't in that economic opportunity or in an environment where there's a lot of schools to choose from. So you also can, show your coach that you're
Yep.
You have a great passion
Sure, no
and
question about
ability,
it.
and
Yep.
hopefully he'll want to use it, and and you can go help.
Yep.
Help.
At the same time, there's a reality where sometimes there's just shitty situations, and
yeah.
and that does exist. But you need to kind of ferret that out on your own.
When I don't know where you're going with next, but
Yeah, go ahead.
what I think a lot of parents would get something out of is this crazy recruiting world we live in, and how especially hard it is for quarterbacks. COVID gave people another year, so there's older guys in there.
Yeah, I see you leading us there where I wanted to go
The
next.
transfer rule gets it, so I'm convinced there's going to be some programs that aren't even going to develop quarterbacks. They're just going to every couple of years, go grab a bigger school and bring them down, or grab a smaller school that's success and bring them up, and that's going to change. It's going to morph, and no one's here to say it's right or wrong, because it just is what it is. But it's tough out there. It's really tough out there, and I know you've been through it with some of your kids that you say, boy, this kid is really good, and he's just not getting any looks, and sometimes I don't know if there's rhyme or reason. Paulie, had some success, had Kyle, who's, got a dozen guys still in the NFL that played for him in high school. So he sent guys all over the country, and that obviously helps. But, I just you just can't let them get discouraged. Things are going to work out. We could, maybe later you can give a quick, what was going to talk about Harrison, Kyle's nephew, about a different type of journey. But I don't remember where we were. We were, like at Duke for a recruiting thing or a camp, and a coach just said something that caught me. He wasn't even the quarterback coach. He was just like our area coach or whatever, and he just said, don't get caught up in trying to get 8 or 10 or 20 offers. All you need is one good offer with somebody who believes in you. And that is so true. And Paulie's was a roller coaster. Had some really nice offers after sophomore year, and then had some, and then OK Junior, and then some injuries, and
then they kind of go away.
Kind of go away because we weren't able to get out on the road the summer before senior year. And then was fortunate enough to be able to land at a great program, find just the right coach, and pick the guy who has a long-standing developing quarterbacks. And so often things work out for the best. It's not what you think you want, not where you think you need, and they just work out. But the
reality is because of the transfer portal, because of COVID, now quarterbacks playing for 6-year players in college playing for 6 years. And I think that ends in 2025.
Yeah. So it's going to come back. So,
but it's hard with the transfer portal.
The last few years have been hard. And there would be more than you got an offer, and then they decide they found a transfer guy, and they took an opportunity and wanted to get that. And there's plenty of Division 1 and 2 that aren't even taking high schoolers. You know what I mean? They're just grabbing from other places. But it's just, if there's anything not to get discouraged, I mean, obviously there's always going to be ups and downs, but wow, it's a long process. Sure, it's nice to get an offer early and take something, but coaching, you could be where Paulie ended up, the coach got fired, and then the interim stayed, and it worked out. But that, when we thought we were all set, and it could have changed at the last minute, and so you never know. But just encourage just to keep talking about it, and engaging. It's the last sport that you need your high school coach. From the basketball perspective, college recruiting, men's and women's, has nothing to do with high school basketball. It's all AAU, summer ball, and college football. Thank goodness, these guys are still in, the guys that all these handlers and I don't even think quarterback coaches have, the good ones don't even get involved in it, and they want to hear from high school coaches, and I think that's a great thing, and hopefully that doesn't change.
So Kyle, you've been at this recruiting game for a long time. Kyle has tremendous relationships with college coaches. They come through his school, they cycle through, they trust him. Kyle says he's got a player that can play. He has credibility with that coach. But I've heard you even say lately it's tougher than ever. What are your
Yeah, and
thoughts?
I don't want to be negative to anybody, but it is a grind, and it's hard to know what's being, what's real and not real, what's truth and not truth from the media, the social media, obviously even college coaches moving and leaving, and transfers, and COVID years, so there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of variables, and all I tell our guys all the time, I'm going to say 10 boxes.
Yeah.
All right, there's 10 boxes. Quarterback might be 15 boxes. Okay, arm strength, accuracy, height, leadership, grades. You want to just be able to have any recruiter wherever he is to be able to check as many boxes.
Yeah.
Now, some of you are never going to check the big tall box.
Mm-hmm.
You're 5'10".
Yep.
And Bryce Young measured, and the NFL measures a little differently. He's a 6-footer.
Mm-hmm.
What everybody else would say is 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
He measured the NFL 5'10" and a quarter. They measure a real funny way. They make you tuck your chin, and it makes everybody about an inch or so shorter than most people would measure them. But anyhow, there are certain boxes that you may never check. So then make sure you're checking the other ones that you have control over.
That's right.
And you go find a way to get better at those things, so you can have. I got things lined up.
Yep.
Paulie was a 4.0 student.
Yep.
And that kept him in the game.
Yep.
In the conversation of scholarships at a lot of different places.
Yep.
Because of the grades.
Sure.
Yep. And then obviously you want to have, again, you can go through every different scenario, and opportunities are out there. Some great stories, and persistence is probably
keep playing ball.
Number one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and talk
Please,
a little bit about my nephew, and then there's another story. I'm going to be kind of quick about both of these stories. Okay, my nephew right now is playing pro football in the XFL. He started one high school game. He was the backup for Justin Fields in high school. He walked on at Mercer, ended up having 5 or 6 starts first couple years because of injury, and then started the whole spring season during COVID. The FCS at Mercer, they had a spring season. He started those whole things. He graduate transfer, trying to become a college coach, but he couldn't find a coaching job. West Georgia ends up, hey, come over to Division II. We need a backup quarterback and experience. Got a young guy. He wins the job, ends up throwing for 3,500, 3,800 yards, breaks every school record, does it again his 6th year in college,
Yep.
and then ends up getting a tryout with XFL. He's with the Seattle Sea Dragons as the third-team quarterback.
Yep.
June Jones is the offensive coordinator.
It's a tremendous story. It's an absolute tremendous story.
But he just kept going. He just kept trying, kept getting opportunities, and made the most of it. Again, another 4.0 student.
Yep.
One other story along these lines, not quite to the same level, but I moved here to Savannah from Atlanta, and a kid starts contacting me. I'm looking for a quarterback
This is a
coach.
great story.
I saw the paper when you got hired and how many good quarterbacks you've had. I left High Point College in North Carolina as a lacrosse player. My freshman year, didn't like the college lacrosse. I want to be a quarterback. I was a backup quarterback in high school, but I really think I can do it. I want to get to a Division I, at least walk on somewhere or something. And I'm like, sorry, man. I'm new program, trying to build it up. I said no to him like 4 times, maybe 5, and then he finally kept asking me. I'm like, okay, if you can come up to my school at lunchtime. This. I'll have 15 minutes twice a week. You got to be there with a ball and ready to go, and then do the drills that I tell you to do afterwards, and blah 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 blah. So he comes up. Okay, he starts working. We make a bunch of adjustments to his throwing motion. And again, I'm only working with him for 2 15-minute segments, probably 10 times. And okay, I want to. Where can I go college? I'm like, well, you need some film. So there's this new startup, junior college, community college, Christian college in North Carolina, South Carolina league. So he goes. It's kind of a fly by night. he goes up, but he gets like 5 games and they cancel the season. But he had 5.
Changing, putting his uniform on out of the trunk of his car.
Yeah.
I mean, just a total whirlwind program.
Yeah, but he got. I said, whatever you do, you pay some girl, you get your buddy, whatever. Take your freaking phone and film it. Even if the coaches are filming it, you film it to make sure you get it. And he had that enough film. He's like, that falls through. Okay, what can I do? Okay, well let's think about the best places you can go. Junior college. Okay, so let's start talking about other real junior colleges, not this fly-by-night stuff. So we make 5 or 6 phone calls. No. And then Georgia Military. I know their head coach really well, really good friend, and recruited my schools for a long time. I'm like, hey, this kid is freaking persistent. He's going to walk on. This won't cost you nothing, but he'll come and he'll help you somehow. Even if it's scout team or something. And so he's okay. I'm going to take him. He walks on. He wins the job. The team ends up 3rd in the country in junior college, 3rd in the country last season.
Yep.
He's got one more season left with him,
yep.
And he's going to try to go. His goal is to go to South Carolina. He said, I'll walk on. I'll do whatever. So he started cultivating relationships at University of South Carolina. I got some contacts, and we're going to, after next season, see what we can do. But he's just persistent, persistent. And he's, he's a good-sized kid, and
certainly we see plenty of those examples in the NFL. I mean, Baker Mayfield was a walk-on. Aaron Rodgers was a junior college, started a junior college in Northern California. We see all kinds of examples, but it's a good reminder to hear these just great stories of people who just love the position and they sell out, do whatever they need to do to be great, grow themselves, not only as athletes but as leaders, and when developing their character as well. It's such a huge thing if you want to be a successful quarterback. I'm really big on that. But yeah, it's great stuff, and those are great stories. Anything else you guys want to add? I think we covered a lot today. Yep. Paul, congratulations on Paulie's success and the success of your daughters.
Yeah.
Now their basketball careers are over. One of them just became a mother, so that makes you a grandpa. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Got my second one coming.
Yeah.
No, I think the last part of the deal is support from dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, support from a coach or a mentor, because man, the quarterback position is really hard and a lot of pressure, and a lot of people in the stands know way more than you do, and developing a support system is really, really important.
Yeah. Well said.
And it's so however you got it, again, whether it's parents or it's your girlfriend or wife, or whoever it might be, figuring out who and how, because you can't do this by yourself. You can't. It's so hard. Not in that it's undoable, but to do it by yourself is really hard, and you need people to give, and my son was really talented and really too aware of how people were judging him and basing their, whatever, and this and that, and how they were supporting him or not supporting him, or, he commits to Georgia, Mark Richt gets fired, social media kills him, and he kind of took his confidence away, and then he ends up at Florida State, and then Jimbo leaves, and then, things go crazy at this position, and he goes transfer to NC State. They win 6.
Being able to handle that is it's a big ask for a young man. Yeah, it's a big ask.
And wins 6-7 games in a row, and then all of a sudden he realizes the coaches are treating him differently because he's too aware. And he's worried about I think they're going to go with the other guy, younger guy. Even though they won 6 in a row, and then he had a bad game, they tell him, we're going to start the other guy. And there's so many ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I equate it to a pro golfer in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because you're almost out there by yourself. Yeah. Yes, the relationships and the team is huge, and you got to surround yourself with good people. But the quarterback is the only one that's going through the pressures that you're going through. And I without that support system, there are some serious mental health problems with a few athletes, quarterbacks over the years, and you got to develop that support system.
Well, yeah.
It's really important.
Well, you have to read. Leaders are readers. You have to develop yourself. Obviously, support system's huge, but you have to be involved in personal growth and developing, yourself from the inside out. It's a big part of it. That's a tough thing for a young man to get his head around. Some of them are a little more, I think, open-minded to those kind of things than others. But hey, listen, we'll wrap this up. Some tools that can help you. You can go over to my website, winningedgeskills.com. I've developed a Quarterback Academy app, a mobile app with just a vast amount of developmental content, from lessons on how to throw and do your footwork and play action mechanics and develop your strength and agility specific to the quarterback position, but also bringing guys like Kyle in and getting him on in the QB room, on the whiteboard, and in the film room, and teaching the mental aspects of the game. Hours and hours and hours of content of Kyle helping these quarterbacks develop. It's unbelievable stuff. It's such a great resource, having someone like Kyle teaching these kids ball. So if you want to go over and check that out, if you decide to subscribe to the app, we'd love to have you. Use code Hockman when you sign up. You'll get 10% off for as long as you have it. You can cancel it anytime. It's a monthly subscription plan. Cancel it anytime you want. Just pay as you go, but that'll save you 10% every month using that code Hockman, and it's HOCKMAN. And reach out to me. My phone number's on my website. I'm old school. Give me a call, shoot me a text, or email me. Definitely connect, and let me be a resource to you. And I'm blessed to be surrounded by guys like this. Guys, thanks so much for sharing and your contributions to the game and to young men. Developing leaders for tomorrow. It's just awesome stuff to bear witness to.
Take a look at Eric's stuff. We've really enjoyed, because we live 1,000 miles away from each other and weren't able to get together as much to do physical stuff, but the mental stuff is great, and all the little things Paulie, little things he did before games that Eric taught him, and ways to get through a bad game or a bad day or dealing with dad or a coach, or the mental stuff is really his deep dive, and it's good stuff. And
I should mention, I wrote a book. You can go to 3dcompetitor.com to get a copy of my book, but it's on how to develop yourself into a three-dimensional competitor, one who is able to grow themselves. So peak performance strategies, mental skills training, how to grow other people, so it's leadership stuff, and also how to leave the game in a better place you found it. So how to lead in three dimensions, yourself, others, and the game. But Kyle's actually taken his students at school through the book systematically, kind of developed a workbook for it. I'm going to go in tomorrow and shadow him and see what he's doing with his kids, but that's awesome stuff. So yeah, there's resources out there, Paul. Thanks for that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that just take a look. Doesn't cost anything to take a look, and he's got a lot of free content out there, and if you want your kid to create a relationship with, Eric's great at just creating relationships and teaching kids to create relationships, because we could talk about that for hours, but and I think that's been a really big thing. Eric helped Paulie through the transition of coming from small rural Michigan to a big school, and just teaching kids how to build relationships with other kids. It's great stuff.
Awesome. Easy to teach a kid like Paulie those things.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, that's it, guys.